twice in the last 10 minutes.
We need like a lightning, like a rod.
What?
Hello, and welcome to Bring on the Sabbath.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Yeah, again, I'm joined with Connor Alvarez, stepson, and my wife, Ann Reed.
Hi.
We are 400 feet underneath Atlanta in our bunker,
Again, not 400 feet, 12 feet.
or maybe 12 feet. It's like somewhere like that, but we're here. I guess we need a bunker with the weather the way it's been.
Yes, I
Today.
have a couple important questions for you.
Yes.
Do we have bread?
We have a loaf and a half. No, we have 2 loaves of bread.
Do we have milk?
I don't know about that. Do we have milk, Connor?
Do we have eggs?
We have eggs.
Do you know why I'm asking you these questions?
Yes, because there's a run at it at the store today.
So, Jeff's still new to Georgia, so he's about to experience his first Georgia reaction to the threat of the dirty S word, which the 4-letter dirty S word is a little bit different here in Georgia. It's snow.
Snow.
So
I
we
do
might
remember,
get some-
like the news, like a few years ago, like snow completely closed the city down.
Yes, yes, it did.
Yeah.
Pictures of Atlanta highways and pictures of the poster from the show The Walking Dead looked the same.
Yeah, it was the snowed in dead, I guess. Or
So we're gonna have bring on the Sabbath and bring on the snow, and we'll stay here in our bunker, nice and warm, right?
yes. Oh yes, oh yes. So again, it's good to be back on this Sabbath. We're monitoring on our so say hello on our CGI.churchonline.org.
Yeah.
Or you can say hello to us on Facebook or YouTube. We're looking at the comments. We thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it looks like everybody else is still trying to dry out from the flooding yesterday. That's most of the comments I'm seeing. Is
Yeah, we went from having 70s
yeah,
to
we
flooding.
had short sleeve weather on Wednesday, flooding and tornadoes yesterday, and we had some snow today, and we're supposed to actually get it to stick tomorrow.
I have a question.
What's your question?
Are we doing Connor's Corner today?
We are going to do Connor's Corner today.
Yes, we're going to do Connor's Corner.
That is our working title, so feel free to tell us if you've got a better idea.
That's just what first came into my head. My mom first, when she started talking to me about it, she said Connor's Corner. So, wait, no, she said Children's Corner. So I just came up with, since I'm Connor and probably the only kid who's going to be on the show. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, we have a couple announcements of things to do first, and then we'll get to that. Does that sound fair? Okay. All right, Jeff, what do we want to announce first?
First thing I want to announce is we got this really exciting, and I'm looking here to see if we're on Facebook, and and I can't see that, but we'll get into that. If we're not, we'll put it on there later. Got to announce we're very excited about the summer family retreat. So I think we have a
So for everyone
little
watching,
slide
this is
about
the
this.
first announcement. You are hearing about this first.
Yeah, so this is something that is this is brand new.
Hot off the presses.
Hot off the presses before anybody else didn't know
The
about
digital
this.
presses.
The digital presses. But we in the Church of God International, so we're going to have a 2020 first ever family summer retreat. It's going to take place at our Medina, Ohio church, which is a very, very nice church. We have very nice facility there. We have a really nice parking area. We have playgrounds, and there's a lake nearby called Hinkley Lake that we're going to do some games and activities and water sports and things out there. It's going to be fun. And it really there's 3 classes that we're going to have as part of reigniting our youth programs, reinvigorating the youth programs.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Jeff got put in charge of the youth programs at CGI, which means we are all in charge of the youth programs.
Yeah, we're all working on those things.
That's how families work. So the 3 tracks of the 3 various youth programs are Sparks, Ignite, and Infuse. And Sparks is about ages 5 to 12. And Infuse is 13 to 17. And Infuse is 18 to 35, correct?
18 to 30.
18
Sometimes
to
it's to
30.
35. So you know what? There's wiggle room with the
There's wiggle
Infuse.
room.
All right, with
Is
that.
there one where I can be in?
Yes, you'd be in Sparks.
You're a spark.
So, in keeping with that, I think you can see either on your full screen or on the screen behind us our theme for it is to spark the interest, ignite the passion, and infuse the spirit.
Yes. So this is going to be from July 23rd to 26th. I later tomorrow or this evening, I will have a link on our front page. It's not there yet. That will link to where you can register for this. But I'm just kind of I want to get the word out first, so you can be thinking about this. And if you want to register, look at our website tomorrow, next week, or whatever. Talk to your family, see if you want to be a part of this. I mean, you know, Medina is a good location if you're coming from Canada, or if you're coming up from the South, or from all over. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we want people to be a part of this, and we wanted to let you know about it tonight.
Yes, and on that website, it's going to have more information. We have our first stab at a calendar of activities, costs, all that great stuff is going to be on there. Yes, sir.
I have a comment about that.
Okay.
Yes.
This is a really amazing slide.
This is a really amazing slide. Do you know who came up with that?
Who?
Aunt Erin. She came up with it, and then Jeff designed it.
Mm-hmm.
So go team.
Yeah, it's the way to be a good team. Be a good team.
My book here just keeps falling over me.
So we're really looking forward to that. Speaking of links, I had mentioned before you showed me, I had no idea how to actually make comments. I've watched this show before, and you read comments and you talk about people making comments, and I didn't know how to make a comment to tell you that I don't know how to make a comment.
Okay.
So can we direct everyone who's watching?
So if you're watching and you want to make a comment, if you're on CGI.churchonline.org, and that link is, if you go from the webcast from our main page and click on that, you'll see a link, and you can chat. Actually, the chat has the ability to speak in tongues. In other words, you could do it in one language, it could translate into another language. So if you could speak, you could type in Russian and communicate with people in English through this chat. So it's really, it's an amazing chat that we have set up there. And so definitely wherever you're, now we're not going to translate. So you got to understand English to understand what we're saying. But make comments on cgi.churchonline.org, or if you're watching
and that's what I'm watching.
Yes, and
I'm watching the comments on that.
And you can also make comments on our Facebook page, which I'm going to look and see if it's running. Sometimes, when we're doing things new, it may not be there or not. If it's there, it is. If it's not, we'll get it later. But you can make comments on the Facebook page and also on our YouTube page. And we'll be checking those comments throughout the evening, looking for your ideas and your comments on what we're discussing.
I might even try to check some comments on my iPad.
Yep.
Tonight, I'll try.
Okay, that would be great.
All right, wonderful. All right, so we have one more announcement before we get into Connor's Corner.
Yay!
Yes.
Yes, and that is just announcing the Women's Seaside Retreat that's going to be this summer. I think we have information up on the screen. This is going to be the important information. It is June 26th through 28th. It's at Lake Texoma, Texas. You can go to cgi.org, click on the link from the front page, and register for that.
All right, wonderful. All right, so now I guess we're going to get into Connor's Corner.
Yay, Connor's Corner.
So, again, this is our first time, so we're going to keep playing with this and what all we do with this. But what we came up with to start is that Connor and I were talking about so at your age, what's one of the most important things that parents want kids? Reading.
Like, you bug me all the time about it. I have to do it for my homework. It's like the world revolves around the reading. Just reading.
Yeah. Reading unlocks everything else. So, and for religiously, what would be the most important thing for you to read?
The Bible.
All right.
Or this special thing, the Action Bible.
Right. So that's what we're going to talk about. So we're just going to show you how much of a difference this one has meant for us. So first, I want to show you, I'm going to read a few verses out of the story of David and Goliath, because, that's a pretty awesome story.
My favorite. It's one of my favorites.
So I'm going to read here from 1 Samuel chapter 17, and I'm just reading out of a normal Bible.
The King James Bible.
Yes, I believe this is the King James Version. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a script. And he And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near the Philistine. And the Philistine came and drew near unto David, and the man that bare his shield went before him. And the Philistine looked about and saw David. He disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. Have we hit the first word yet that you don't know?
Countenance.
Countenance?
Yeah.
Okay.
What if that word is?
And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves?
Comest to me with
I don't.
staves.
What?
A stave.
Stave.
You know what a stave is?
Is it a Dave with an S?
Yeah. So yeah, stave. Stave's definitely an archaic word.
Right. So the problem that we found when we were reading out of a normal Bible is we had to keep stopping and talking about what it is they're saying, what are they trying to get across, and it didn't allow us to get any deeper. It didn't let it come alive for him. It didn't let the actual story have a meaning. So then we found this other thing called the Action Bible. So Connor is going to turn to the page.
Correct page if I can find.
And we're going to put it up on the screen for you. Hey, Connor, could you read the story of the climax of the story of David and Goliath
So these
for
two
us?
pages?
Yes, those 2 pages.
Okay. With only a shepherd's staff and a sling, David goes out to meet the Philistine giant. The armies of both camps watch their champions as they face each other. Ha ha ha, do you think I'm a dog that you can chase me away with sticks and stones?
Ah.
That's what stave means. So it's not a Dave.
No, not this. Okay.
I'll give your flesh to the wild animals. You come with a sword, a spear, and a shield, but I come in the name of God, who will give me the victory. Whoosh! The giant laughs, but David whirls his sling, takes careful aim, and lets the stone fly. Unk! That's what Goliath says, and apparently in comic books that they make really weird noises. David has slain Goliath with a single shot from his sling. Man, that's hard to say. He runs to the body, grabs Goliath's sword, and holds it up in victory. Let everyone know that our God does not need human weapons. This battle is the Lord's, and he has delivered the Philistines to us. It must have been a god. How else would a mere boy defeat Goliath? In terror, the Philistines flee for their lives. Spurred on by the sudden turn of events, the excited Israelites chase the Philistines back to their own land. That's really good graphics.
So Connor, tell me about the difference between these two.
One, there's some really weird things that make zero sounds like stave. For a sec, I thought it was really a Dave with an S.
So the language barrier. So you understand this better. What else?
And it already gives me a picture, like literally gives me a picture of what the story's about.
And does that help you understand it more?
Yeah. So basically, it's like if I just heard "unk," I'd be like,
Yeah, that's probably not King James English.
no "unk."
Now, the biggest thing is when you and I read this the first time, and we got to the end of this page, which was the end of the story that you wanted to read. What happened?
I just read the next story. One time, we actually sat in our basement and read for about 3 or 4 hours.
Because you just kept wanting to turn the page.
Yeah, we started at the very beginning, and I think we got past David. Like, if you look on screen, see how big this thing is? You see how many pages this is?
Yeah, this
We
is
went
not
past
a
that.
Precious Moments top 10 stories out of the Bible. This tells the entire Bible from beginning to end in
Yeah.
a way that's in between that Precious Moments kid and like a teenage devotional that has very few graphics.
Like, if I look, you know how like the original story was named David and Goliath? It gives them new, like, good names. Like, this one was called A Giant Challenge,
But what does it have right under that, which is really nice?
based on First Samuel 17.
Right, so we can always go to another Bible and read more about it, read it in a different version. But anyway, So this is something that's made a huge difference for us.
I'd suggest everyone buys it.
So highly recommended.
Yeah.
All right.
The artwork is very, very cool
Yes,
in there as well.
artwork's great.
It's
I like the sound of that.
Very,
it's
like
very
Marvel-esque.
serious. It's like very serious.
All right. Anything else you want to cover real quick?
This book is awesome, and if you're a parent at home and you want your child to read more and you like the church, so you should just buy your kid this.
Makes an excellent feast present, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's called the Action Bible, and look, it literally says more than 1 million copies sold.
Okay.
All right. Well, I have
Christian Book Award.
All right. Let's see if we have any comments for you.
Yeah, I have
before you
I have
go.
a comment that says Ernie on YouTube says such a well-spoken little man. Says God bless you, Connor.
Hey,
And
thank
then and also said, and then I have
So
Paul
nice.
on here says thumbs up, Connor. You have a great future in church.
Thank
So
you.
so some nice comments we're having there, and people join us. Thank you for joining us on YouTube,
So
and people who are
nice.
joining us on our website and the app on Roku. We're not on Facebook. I got to get email about a Facebook thing, but we're going to put a replay on Facebook right after we're done today.
Do you have any comments on your phone you need to share with us?
Mostly people are still talking about floods over here. But I saw that he's a very smart young man and reads very well.
Thank you. So nice.
All right. Well, thank you, Connor, for Connor's Corner. We look forward to this being a regular feature as we're going to talk
Maybe
about
it
different
should be
things.
Connor's chair.
Or Connor's Chair. Yeah.
Not really in a
You know, again, if you have suggestions for what to call it or any better ideas, let us know.
Connor's center.
Yeah,
All right,
Connor.
I'll let you keep working on that one. All right, well, thank you so much. And I think we're going to go to our first commercial break.
We'll go to our first commercial break, and we'll be back in
Peace
just a few
out.
moments.
Yes, I know that's due today. Yes, and the cupcakes for the soccer game. I'll do the best I can to get that to you. Yep, I'll do my best. Anything else? You want me to watch your kids this weekend? Okay. And the dog? Sure, let me add that to my list. Okay, sure. Okay, uh-huh. Uh-huh, okay. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you hang on a second? I gotta go.
If you don't have a magic seashell, we invite you to relax with friends and be refreshed by God at Seaside Escape. Wish you could have a day at the beach? Time with girlfriends for laughing and sharing? Time with God reflecting, praying? You can at Seaside Escape. It's a retreat where you'll have time with girlfriends, time with God, time for relaxation and refreshment. Join the women at our church at a sparkling, splashy, beach-themed retreat. Seaside Escape.
we are back from break, and look who showed up again.
Yeah, here I am.
It's Paul.
Appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you here again. Last time we discussed a few little things about getting this place together.
We did.
And set up, and I called you a couple days ago, so I need some help. You got a Bible study or something you can help us bring on the Sabbath?
No, glad to do it. No problem. it looks even better than it did before. Got a few more things in here.
Yeah, we keep adding lights and cords and cables and doodads all over the place. It's if you could see like the wide shot of like everything we have in here, you'd be
it's
like,
really
wow, there's a lot of stuff in here.
It's great. Does he bring you down here to say, look what else I've got going on?
No, I stay out of this.
You stay out of okay.
Yeah, just come down, for bots.
Yes. My addition was the baby gate for the dog at the top of the stairs.
Yeah, that's a nice gate too.
That way
Very
we didn't
secure.
worry about everything down here.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was thinking, well, the dog could chew a lot of stuff in this place.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right about that.
We have a puppy, and puppies will be puppies, but I'd rather a puppy be a puppy with something less expensive than all of this.
Yeah, somewhere else, right? Yeah.
Yes. All right. So what have you brought for us this evening to discuss?
Well, what I've brought to discuss is, we have a lot of benefits, and I want to go right. I'll look at Psalm 68.
But what do you mean benefits? Like benefits that God
Benefits
gives
from God,
us?
that God gives us. Yes,
Okay.
and I want to focus on one of those benefits. It's I think it's probably one of the most important ones that He makes available to us, and it's something that we sometimes maybe don't think about, but when it's there, we know it, and it brings a lot of joy to our life. So if we would starting in Psalms 68 in verse 19, blessed be the Lord who daily loads us with benefits. Daily. He loads us with benefits. We sometimes we may not think about and realize all the benefits we have. We may even sometimes take them for granted. But He loads them with, each and every day. Yeah.
You know what? I got a comment about that because I was like last Friday, I had strep throat.
Okay.
And I had a fever, and I can talk to my wife, and she's I was a bit of a baby with the fever because fever kind of brings you down to where you can't I was like I can't even walk across the house because I got a fever, and if I walk it hurts to move, it hurts to drink. I think at one point
there's
I was
a reason they put in sickness and in health
Yes.
in the vow, so that you can repeat that mantra to yourself in those moments.
Yes.
As much as needed, yes.
But I remember I gave me a little cup of orange juice and I had a Pop-Tart and I was trying to eat that. I was going, I don't think I can make it to this Pop-Tart. I was trying and this orange juice. I felt so sick. But now that I've been healed of that, right? God, the natural healing God gives us. I understand the benefits that God gives us. That we enjoy the benefits that He gives you every day and make use of them because you can when you compare it to those times when we can't do anything.
And that is a very good point. It's, particularly with our health and the issues that we have. So many things that can happen to us, and His intervention there, and those benefits, they are tremendous. It's incredible.
I think He does have to temporarily take some of them away every once in a while, just so we do remember them.
Yes.
I mean, you don't think about being able to breathe through your nose until your nose is stuffed
you
up.
can't.
So just as simple as that. So a lot of the benefits that I'm sure you're about to speak of, you kind of have to go without them for a day to go, oh yeah, there was that one too.
Right.
That.
That's true. In going in Psalm 103 in verse 2, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits. Well, as we were just saying, we do sometimes forget those benefits, but they are tremendous. And I want to look at one in particular, in Philippians 4, in verse 7. That's Philippians 4 and verse 7. And I will get there. Paul is talking to the Philippians here, and it says, and the peace of God which passes understanding, shall keep your hearts and your minds through Christ Jesus. you know, having that inner peace, there's nothing like it. There's nothing that compares to it. And, you know, whatever we might accomplish in this world, whatever situations, you know, we may be striving to have, or there's nothing like peace of mind, peace of heart. That inner joy, despite all the trials and troubles that we face, when we have that inner joy, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it at all. And we all go through various struggles and trials, and we will in this life, in the flesh. We will continue to. Let's look at let's go back to Psalms and look at Psalm 55 here. Psalm 55 and verse 18.
Okay.
He hath delivered my soul in peace from the battle that was against me. The battle. We all have that battle. We all have that struggle in one way or another in this life. You know, whether it's stress or anxiety. You know, I know many times we deal with regret or depression, grief. You know, we can get lost in grief sometimes, lost in some of these struggles. But when we go to Him and we ask Him for that peace of mind, and we seek it, He delivers.
Yeah, I think battle, sometimes I immediately think of a battle, our battle with sin. That sin, because if sins in your life, different sins can cause grief, can cause problems.
They certainly can.
And God can help us overcome those sins, and then we can reap those benefits.
And then the guilt that goes along with that.
Yes.
Yeah, and we can really get lost in that sometimes.
Absolutely.
And we know God is merciful, and we know He's compassionate, He's patient, He's understanding. But Satan, in his way of doing things, he knows how to touch those places in our mind and cause us to have that confusion, and keep us, keep us in that state. If that peace does not come in, but he promises He will deliver us. He will help us, no matter what the struggle is. And I know we all go through a lot of different struggles, and we're going to in this flesh. We're going to always. But when we turn to Him and His Word, His truth, His promises, and keep our hope in Him, and try to, He'll help us look past this. What we can see right now with our eyes, He'll help us to look past it.
Are you familiar with the? I'm sure most of you are familiar with the hymn, "It Is Well With My Soul."
Yes.
Which is obviously a hymn that speaks very much to that inner peace.
You're right.
Do you know the story behind it?
I have heard it I believe about a gentleman who lost his family.
Yes. So the gentleman who wrote it first lost 2 of his sons, and then there was a financial downturn. He lost his business, so his family was going to have to, I forget, it was coming from America to England or England to America, one or the other, and try to start a new life. Well, he was trying to finish some things up, and he sent the rest of his family on ahead of him, and on the way the ship sank, and all 4 of his daughters were killed. His wife survived, and she sends him the letter, and everything's lost. So then he has to travel across the ocean to go meet her. And at one point, one of the people on the ship with him let him know, we're now passing over the area where the other ship sank and where all of his children had passed away. And that's when he penned the lyrics to this song.
That's incredible.
That just whatever's going on in his life, that at some points it's going to be amazing, and at some points it's just going to be all you can take, and all you can rely on in those moments is that peace that only God can give you, because the world is not going to give it to you.
Absolutely, and I'm sure most of us can't even begin to imagine going through a situation like that. That would be very. I know we had a gentleman in the church 20 years ago who, on his way to the feast, lost a lot of his family members.
He was in a van Well, he was behind another person who was driving, I think, and the person who was driving ahead of him had a heart attack.
Something and lost control.
And his family was up there in that van.
Yeah,
and he lost
a son, a daughter, some nieces, nephews, and it was tragic. And he came onto the feast, which was really incredible.
He was strong.
Yes, he was strong. Looking back here in verse 16 here in Psalm 55, it says, "As for me, I will call upon God, and the Lord shall save me." And we know He does. And what a benefit that is, to know that, to know He will save us, whatever situation we're in and whatever struggle we're in. We're gonna. Paul talks about whatever state he was in, he learned to be content. Well, God helps us that way too, to be content in whatever state we're in, whatever struggle's going on, and whether it's grief or whether it's depression or whether it's fear or worry or anxiety, all the different stresses we have with especially when it comes to the loss of a loved one. That's a difficult situation for any of us to go through. But he helps us, and he says in verse 22, "Cast your burdens upon me, and I will sustain you. I will sustain you through whatever happens." So I just want to say that that peace and that joy, I know I felt it a lot in my life, and especially in the past short time, some things I've gone through. And I hope that all of us will think about that when we're in the struggle. In the moment, it's difficult, because our carnal mind is working against us. Our carnal mind is trying to cause us to, question God or ask, say I don't deserve this or whatever fleshly carnal things may come to our mind. We have to deal with that and ask God to help us look past that as well. The last scripture I wanted to look at was 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 13 and verse 11. 2 Corinthians 13 and verse 11. And Paul is saying to the Corinthians, I don't believe he saw them again after this. He says, "Be perfect, be of good comfort, be of one mind, live in peace, and the God of love, the God of peace, shall be with you." And we know that He will. He will be with us. His word doesn't fail. It doesn't waver. He doesn't overlook us. And just as you were telling the story of that man who lost all his family, He gave him strength. God gave him strength and comfort. And it talks about peace.
Yes.
And all the things that we need to get through this life.
Yeah, well, God gives us everything we need.
And we know it's temporary. We know this life is. And the real life is yet to come. When the end here is not the end. It's just the beginning. And what a joy it is to know that and to look forward to that. So there's so many other benefits we could talk about, but that peace of mind, that peace of
what's
heart.
the fruit of the Spirit?
Yeah.
Or those benefits that God can give us, and the joy, peace, long suffering. I always ask God for patience, and it seems like the way He ends up delivering patience to me is like I got to wait in line, or I get into situations where I need the patience.
Oh yeah.
It's like, give me patience, all right. Here, use it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard someone say that that's the one thing they don't pray for because the trial to get it is way too hard.
Yeah. So praying for joy is good because
yes.
Joy.
Don't give me the situation where I earn the patience. Just give me the patience.
Just give me the patience and give it to me now.
Or me. What was it? Mine yesterday morning trying to get Connor to school on time. It's the God grant me the patience to endure my blessings.
Yes.
It's about how I feel sometimes.
And we do have so much to be thankful for.
Yeah, but look at this. He gave us life. He gave us the opportunity, everybody, to be a part of His family at some point in the future. that the whole reason we are here is that God wants us to be part of that family.
Yes.
And that we know
That's
we're,
right.
we're talking about the gospel and the things that we're doing is leading up to God's kingdom. I mean, that's a great benefit.
It
to be
is.
part of God's
It
family
certainly is.
and all that He has, that He gives us now and He will give us.
And for any of you out there that may be going through some of these particular struggles right now, please remember that when God gives you that peace of mind and that comfort, you will be able to rejoice. You'll be able to rejoice through your trial. You'll be able to overcome. You'll be able to smile and be full of that happiness again. And God never fails. Keep that in mind. And His word never fails, and His truth never fails.
And He also gives us each other to
And He
lean
gives
on
us
in
each
those,
other.
in those circumstances
Yes.
as well.
To encourage and uplift.
And He gives us the opportunity to be an example of Him and how He can provide that peace
Right.
by helping each other through those situations.
Yes. So true.
Yeah, I think I'm grateful that God's given me a wife and he gave you a husband. But I mean, He put us together, and I was thinking back when I was sick, I was like, if I was at home back in Texas with this, I was like, who would have made my Pop-Tart for me? Or who would have get my orange juice? Or who would have helped me through all this? I've been in bed sick. I'd have to call up, friends and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I mean, sometimes when you get to,
I don't
It's
think you
good
had a
to know.
toaster, Jeff. I don't know.
Did He even own a toaster?
He didn't have any utensils, that's for certain.
yeah,
So
we did
Pop-Tart
pick up a
probably
few
would
for
be-
him when we were there.
So Pop-Tart probably would have been the only thing he would have been eating.
It would have been a cold Pop-Tart.
it would have been Pop-Tart that was microwaved. So, I'll
Wait,
tell you that,
yeah.
But you know what? Here's what happens when you microwave a Pop-Tart. Like you bite into it, and it's like really soft on the outside and cool, and inside it's like lava. It burns. It's not the greatest,
Yeah.
but again, I'm grateful. We should be grateful for our families, grateful for the relationships God gives us, and also the church, because we have church family.
Yes.
And so one of the greatest
It's vital.
benefits that God can give to you, especially if you're not out there and you're by yourself, find a church family. Go online to our website, or
if only there was a way people could try to start building a church family.
yeah.
Do you want to plug?
Our church sales, yes, we have church sales that we are that Mike James has talked about before on Bring on the Sabbath, and these church sales we have started 8 new ones on our. They're on our website now. You go to CGI.org and look under United States churches, and you'll see 8 new places. You may not know what they are, but there's going to be a lot of new places. And then we also have a listing of areas where we just have a few families, or just maybe 2 people who are looking for people to fellowship with. And what we want. Send us an email to info@cgi.org. Let us know that if you want to be a part of a church sale, or if you want to be a part of a group, or you want to reach out to someone, let us know. We're trying to bring people together, because that's one of the greatest benefits that God has in the church is our family in the church that He gives us.
Right, and it's
Yeah.
really exciting. Talking about the eight cell groups. So it seemed like they just popped up overnight. And
Yeah.
so it's amazing. And I know Mike's going to keep on doing a great job, and that's exciting. That's encouraging, and we can look forward to that.
Yeah, so definitely let us know if you're looking for something like that, and we're excited that God is doing so much in the church, and we're happy for all the things that He's allowing us to do, and we're getting the gospel out there, and we are so glad that people are able to watch this and share this program with others as well. All right, well, thank you for that study. That really sets the stage for the Sabbath as we're getting into it.
Yes.
And as we're bringing it on, which I guess it's kind of started a couple hours ago for us here, but maybe some places it's not, the Sabbath has not come yet. Maybe you're in Hawaii. So if you're in Hawaii watching, Sabbath will come in a couple hours.
What a benefit it is to know it is the Sabbath.
Yeah.
And
What kind of that's a benefit.
Yes.
The Sabbath is one of the greatest benefits.
it certainly is.
So
we
by
could
the
ever
way, a
have.
lot of people are saying thank you to you, Paul, and that's very good advice, and really appreciating the message that you just brought.
All right, wonderful.
Awesome.
We're gonna go to another break here in just a moment, and when we get back, last 2 weeks ago when we were here, we looked at the first part of the John chapter 13, and we looked about what it talks about foot washing and how we wash each other's feet, and how God wants us to have that attitude of service, and how in Christ has that for us. That's providing benefits, right? That's foot washing.
Yes.
When God gives us benefits, He's kind of washing our feet. He's given us those things we don't even deserve, because they didn't deserve their feet to be washed.
Got that right.
And so we're going to come out of that foot washing. We're going to start in John a little bit after that and get into the rest of what Christ has to cover, and this evening that leads into where Christ becomes the Passover the next day. That the night that He takes the symbols of the Passover of Him, the Passover pointing to what He would do the next day. So we will take a short break, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back. And we're looking at John chapter 13. We're looking at chapter 13. We went up to verse 17 in the last part of the study, and we're going to begin in verse 18. Again, this is right after he says, happy you are if you do these things, right? If you wash each other's feet, you'll be happy if you do these things. And so verse 18, Christ, he tells them, he says, I do not speak concerning all of you. In verse 18, he says, I know whom I have chosen, but that the scripture may be fulfilled. It says, he who eats bread with me has lifted up his heel against me. Now this is kind of, he's kind of like saying, hey, I know someone out there who's about to betray me. And he's going to give us like a sign to them that, let them know he knows that this is going to happen. He says, now I tell you before it comes, that when it does come to pass, you may believe that I am he. Most assuredly I say to you, he who receives whomever I send receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. And he who receives me receives him who sent me. And I guess as he's talking about the disciples, but I think that also kind of applies to us in the church to a degree. I think so. He says, if Christ sends someone, and I guess he's probably sent the church, he sent us in the church to do things, or if our spirit. So like if the spirit of Christ is in us, we can say that we're sent to a degree. We're part of his family. And if you receive someone else in God's family, you're receiving Christ, because Christ is in them. Christ is in them, and so he's kind of laying that up, and he gets into more as we're going to go look, over the coming years as we look at this. I don't know how long it's going to take as we look at John 14 through 18 or whatever, when we get into the really interesting conversation that John records of what Christ tells them, before he becomes the Passover. In verse 21, it says, when Jesus had said these things, he was troubled in spirit and testified and said, most assuredly I say to you, one of you will betray me. The disciples looked at one another perplexed about whom he spoke, which I guess that's probably, they've been there. They did not suspect anyone to be a betrayer. They thought they were, we're all in this together. We're all following Christ. Dedicated. I mean, Christ is doing all these miracles. They're ready to go take over Jerusalem. They're ready to establish the kingdom now. They're in that kind of mode, like, hey, this is it. he's the Messiah. We're gonna start this kingdom now. And so, like the idea that one of them would betray that makes very little sense, because he's actually the Son of God. He's God, there with them. So verse 20.
Hard to imagine.
Yeah, hard to imagine that. It's hard to imagine. So again, so it's like we probably could imagine if God, somebody, if he said, "Hey, one of y'all in this room is going to betray me," it's like, "Oh, no, you would betray Christ? Right. No way." Verse 23. Now there was leaning on Jesus' bosom one of his disciples, whom Jesus loved. And so that disciple whom Jesus loved, and it's referred to throughout the book of John as a disciple Jesus loved, is John. Right? John wrote this. He was there, so he's saying, he's an eyewitness. He was like, leaning on him, very casual, relaxed, as they were sharing in a meal. They were he's going to give them these.
He loved him.
Yeah. There's love that he was having for them. Verse 24 says, Simon Peter therefore motioned to him to ask who it was he spoke. So maybe he's like, "Who are you talking about?" Yeah. He motioned to him like, "What are you saying about this? Who is this?" And Jesus answered. And here's the thing is, so he answered. Who did he answer? He answered Peter. So he may not have said this to everyone, but John was right there listening, right? Because so that's the reason why John's letting you know that he was in proximity to hear this. So John was leaning; he could hear this, and so Peter motions to Christ like who is this that's going to betray? And Jesus answered. He tells Peter. He says, "It is he to whom I shall give a piece of bread when I have dipped it." So he does that, and gives it. He says, "And having dipped the bread, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon." All right. So now Peter and Sir John, because they were in proximity to this conversation, which was them, they knew who it was.
They knew what was going on.
They knew what was going on.
Yeah.
It says, "Now after a piece of bread, Satan entered in him." So then that's being possessed, right? That's the ultimate, where Satan was out to destroy Christ, and he was betraying him right there.
And Jesus could see all this going on. I mean, the spirits and whatever was going on there. Jesus could see it and knew that all this was going to happen.
Yeah, it had. I guess it had to happen. It was part of what was going to happen.
Right.
And Judas was the one who filled that role, but it was again his decision to fill that role. And Satan entered into him, and Jesus said to him, "What you do it quickly." So he knew what was going on. But no one at the table knew for what reason he said this to him. What you do quickly. Yeah. Because they weren't privy to maybe what he was talking to Peter, or he put the little bread. A couple of them knew who it was. For some doubt, because Judas had the money box, that Jesus had said to him, "Buy those things we need for the feast," or because the feast was coming up, right? So the feast was about to begin. Days of unleavened bread, which the Passover leads into, which Christ is going to be the Passover, and then you have the days of unleavened bread leads right after, after his sacrifice.
Go out and get the things that we
need. Yeah, get ready because we got to prepare for this feast. Or give some to the poor. Verse 30. So having received the piece of bread, he then went out immediately, and it was night. So verse 31, and this is kind of back to some of what Christ was saying earlier, and this is something maybe we can think about, God's benefits, like the benefit of being in God's church, the benefit of having family, having friends. Verse 31, it says, "So when he had gone out, Jesus said, 'Now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and glorify him immediately. So little children, I shall be with you a little while longer, and you will seek me. And as I said to the Jews, where I'm going, you cannot come. So now I say to you, a new commandment I give to you." This is the new commandment he gives, "that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another." Now think about Christ. So he just washed their feet, and he's having this this meal with them, and the conversations he's having. How much did Christ love them?
Oh, a tremendous amount.
I think that's why he has to say it that way.
Yeah.
He doesn't just say, "Love one another." He says,
right.
"Love one another," and then says, "As I have loved you, love one another."
He says this is a new commandment.
But that's how much you need to love them. How much you have witnessed me love you. That's how I want you to do it.
And
He
that
set
last
the
act,
example.
that huge act of humility there.
Yeah, this is
Getting down.
right after him
Right.
washing their feet.
Right.
And so this is the thing that I want us in the Church of God to kind of think about tonight, as we're bringing on the Sabbath, and loving each other in the church. And again, and there's a lot of churches of God, like different corporate bodies and different things out there and independence or whatever. But he says that, he's telling the disciples, but this applies to us, that we have to love one another in the church the way Jesus loves us. And I don't know if we do that. Like I think to myself, I'm like, do I do that? Do I really do that?
That's the highest
That's a high
bar.
That's a high commandment.
But I mean, that is a great way to always maybe check yourself and put you back in that frame. If you think I'm doing fine, I love the people in my church, I love the people in my family. Okay, but do you love them the way you think Christ loves them? Do you love them that much?
The way he loves you. What is he about to do for everyone after this night as we're reading this? He's about to die for everyone. So that's the ultimate love. So he says elsewhere, he says, greater love has no other than to lay down one's life for your friends. And we are his friends. They are his friends.
And are we willing to put others before ourselves and lift others up and put the spotlight on others, whatever,
Yeah.
and be humble and be meek. Stay in a lowly state of mind and continue that introspection, and say, it's something we constantly strive against, because the world is totally opposite, trying to take all that out of us, and those things creep in.
And this is what we in the Church of God. I'm talking about Church of God International, whatever Church of God you're in, and this is why we'll have people from other churches of God be on this program. We try to do all we can to love everyone in the Church of God. I mean, that's part of like what we do in Church of God International. I hope everyone out there does this, because here's the next verse, verse 35. Verse 35, he says, as I've loved you, that you also love one another. This new commandment he gives. He says, by this, all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. And so this is a key thing. If we're reaching out to the world, and we want the world to understand the love of Christ, we want the world to understand the power of the gospel, the power of what Christ can do for us, the benefits that we can have by becoming a Christian, being baptized, obeying his laws. If we want the world to know that we are his disciples, we got to love each other. And that means I got to love whoever is in the Church of God, and we got to show love. No matter, we cannot disparage others who
Can't
are
qualify it.
right. Yeah, we have to love them like Christ. We have to love them like Christ.
I think this also really applies to evangelism. He doesn't say, this is above all things, this is how people will know you're my disciples, if you can quote the Bible to them. If you can beat them over the head with the Bible, with what they should be doing. If you can correct them on how to pronounce my name. If you love them. I think if you start with that, every other conversation goes further.
Yes.
I mean, just think of in your own family. If you had to tell someone in your own family, something hard, if you needed to correct them, if you needed to, call them to the carpet about something, it's only if you start with that place of love that then they will hear that correction. They will hear what you have to say.
Right, and your relationship will continue on.
Yes.
It doesn't end right there. It continues on. You're not trying to say something and lift yourself up and shut them down. You want a continued relationship.
So we want to preach the truth in love, as it says elsewhere.
Preach the truth in love. That's right.
That's and that's what shows Christ in us. So he's given them right there. This is the key. This is a new commandment. I'm telling you, this is it. That here's what you got to do. You got to love each other the way I love you, and then again, as that applies to the world, we got to show that love in things that we do.
The benefits are going to pour in when you do that.
And again, like you said, that's how people know that you have Christ in you, is because you are loving them like Christ would.
Yeah, and those benefits, sometimes God's benefits come from us. That God's going to use us to show those benefits, share those benefits with others, to show that love to others. He's going to love, because if He's in us, He wants to, us to show that love through us. All right, let's look at the last little bit, and we'll be through chapter 13 here, verse 36. Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, where are you going?" He's like, "Where are you going?" because he's talking about I'm going away, all this stuff. He's like, where are you going? And Jesus answered him, where am I going? You cannot follow me now, but you shall follow me afterward. So he's talking about he's about to be crucified. And Peter would later lose his life for the gospel as well. But he says, "Now, right now you can't follow me into this." Peter said to him, Lord, why can't I follow you now? He said, I will lay down my life for your sake. And Christ calls on that because Jesus answered him. He says, will you lay down your life for my sake? He says, most assuredly I say to you, the rooster shall not crow till you have denied me 3 times. He knew Peter was still weak, that Peter still, had a lot to learn, had a lot to grow, had a lot to, build in that spirit. Now we know Peter changed after denied Christ.
We're
he was strong.
And we're all in that situation.
Yeah, we've all been like Peter's.
Yeah.
We've all been the way he was. We are now growing like Peter. We are doing those things. Yes.
True.
The picture that comes to my head when he's talking, just that not understanding but wanting and trying. It reminds me of our puppy that when we're trying to walk out the door. Where are you going?
Mm-hmm.
No, you can't go. Stay. Like, well, why can't I go with you? I love you, and wherever you're going, I'll go. No, stay. You don't get it.
You don't understand yet.
Yeah, you don't understand.
You're not ready.
Yet. No.
You're not ready for that yet. But when we are ready, when we have grown, and Peter became ready, and we are all at different stages. But the thing is, and the key thing, I guess, if anything we want to remember as we're bringing on the Sabbath tonight, that from washing one another's feet is loving each other, is loving each other the way Christ loves us, and that's hard to do, but we got to do it. It says that's how the world will know.
And come out of the world and follow Him, and those benefits will be there, and they're greater than any benefit we could ever have in this life, in this flesh. There's nothing that compares.
Yeah. So excited to be a part of those. All right, so I guess we're closing up on the hour here. Again, thank you for driving 10 minutes down the road. Come on, all right.
Thank you.
And so we thank you for being a part of this. We thank everybody out there who's watching, who's sharing this on Facebook or YouTube or making comments. We thank you. Again, I'm gonna look see if we have any new comments. I got a lot of amens, happy Sabbath on here. So thank you again for being a part of this. Because again, you're our family. We love you.
Yes.
And we want you to have a wonderful Sabbath and share the blessings that God gives to you to others.
And
those
rejoice.
benefits. Rejoice.
Always.
Yes. All right. So we're going to take another short break, and when we get back, we'll say our goodbyes.
Hi, we'd like to offer you 2 booklets on today's program. We want to offer you, Is Jesus Really God? There's a lot of controversy about who and what Jesus was. We also want to offer you, What is God? Of all the theological questions that evoke controversy in the ancient church, the question of who and what God was one of the major questions. It's even a major question today. You can order by visiting our website, www.cgi.org. That's www.cgi.org.
We're back, and hey, Connor's back. All right.
All right.
I appeared.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us this evening.
It's been
And
great.
Yes, yes. May you have a good night, and may God bless your Sabbath.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us. Have a happy
Have
Sabbath,
a wonderful Sabbath.
and bring it on. Bring on that Sabbath.
Bring on that Sabbath.
See you next time.
good night.